Alright, so we've reached the finale of this growing up gaming series. Might be a little different than other parts, and you'll kind of see why as we go on and why this was particularly chosen as the end point. But yeah, diving right into it, it was mid 2008, so I've only had my Wii for a few months, and it wasn't even that much longer ago I had to replace my original Xbox, so I wasn't expecting to get another console anytime soon. But we wound up going to one of my dad's friends' summer party. I don't remember what it was exactly, maybe 4th of July or a birthday, anniversary, whatever the case. They decided to show off a little game known as Rock Band. I feel like 2008 in particular was like a really explosive year for the Guitar Hero Rock Band rhythm game craze. I feel like people forget or sort of downplay just how huge these games were at the time. And I feel like in that 2008 period, I just knew a lot of people finding out about the games and picking them up around that same time shortly after finding out. It spread real quick, including with us. I mentioned before, but my parents were never really too into gaming throughout this series. I've mentioned a few rare exceptions. One of the last sort of exceptions for a game they got into was Rock Band Guitar Hero. We were all really into it. Had a lot of fun across the family with it. And it was like within the week of this party, my parents were like, huh, your Xbox is kind of out of date, isn't it? There's a new one out, right? Maybe we should, get get one of the new ones for the family so we could, play those really fun Guitar Hero Rock Band games here. I was actually just scrolling down a little. I wasn't sure if Rock Band had a Wii release. It did, but it was like just coming out around that time. The series really just wasn't known for being on the Wii at the time. Because that, in retrospect, is a little surprising. Because I would imagine if they knew it was already on Wii, we may have just gotten those versions. So yeah, we got a system, all the instruments, Guitar Hero 2 as well right away, in addition to Rock Band. And pretty much our Xbox 360 was a Guitar Hero Rock Band machine, similar to how the Wii, pretty much at this point, was a Super Smash Bros. Brawl machine, at least for me. Like I said, I have a younger sibling who may have played other stuff on the Wii, but it's actually easier to list the games that were available in these two series on Xbox 360 that we didn't have than the ones that we did have. We stuck through till the very end pretty much with the series, except we did not get either of the DJ Hero games, nor did we get a couple of the band centric ones, particularly Guitar Hero Metallica and Green Day Rock Band. We had literally every other game in both series that released on the 360. Rock Band, like I said, was kind of the first introduction. It wound up kind of being the favorite. I wasn't super high skilled. I remember all the cool people talking about playing on expert, and I was there playing on medium because at the time I just couldn't wrap my head around efficiently incorporating the fifth key when you have, four fingers for the keys. Towards the end, I did kind of get a handle on it. And that's where I'm kind of at now, too, because I'll still go back and play these games, maybe a couple times a year, an hour or two in an afternoon when I feel like it. Playing through, I could pretty much most songs on hard, I guess, at this point. A couple songs I particularly remember in this game I remember Wanted Dead or Alive by Bon Jovi because it was the one song I can play on expert because I think it was playing on, was it on bass, I think, and there wasn't a lot of notes or anything, and it was slow. So that was kind of funny and mildly rewarding for me. I also remember Timmy and the Lords of the Underworld because I actually started to watch South Park around that time. And I thought it was cool to have a bit of a non-traditional song from, another medium kind of in the game. And I just liked the song in general too. It was really catchy. It had all the fun gimmicks like a solo and a big rock ending. It was short and just kind of perfect to get you really pumped to play or just a good grand finale to your session. We had the original Xbox 360 model, so of course we did need to take a week or two break when we inevitably got the red ring of death like everyone else, it seemed like. I was kind of in the middle of people I knew, not one of the earliest, but not one of the latest to get it. Eventually we would have to replace our 360. I believe we had a disk drive fail because it wasn't reading any games or anything. This was years later. Like, I think the Xbox One, it definitely was out at that time because I remember selling some games to get a new 360 and leaning towards the Xbox 360 model that looked like the Xbox One, but they wound up not having any in stock. They said, I guess internally, the Slim was pretty much the same anyway, so we wound up getting one of those instead. But yeah, that was kind of life for a while. Just brawl and rhythm games at home for a couple of years. But I wound up not being home a lot for quite a few years. I eventually would spend a lot of time at my one neighbor's house. I forget their situation exactly. I don't know if they just had really generous parents, or I know they had an older sibling who had a job and some disposable income. Either way, pretty much every latest big release they had. So that was sort of where we all would wind up gathering. And we just played, so many different games. There was three standouts off the top of my head. I have Halo 3 pulled up, obviously. But it was really just all the 360 Halo games we played a lot. We played a lot of GTA, specifically 4, but we played some of the older ones too. And the original Left 4 Dead. But like I said, that's only, a fraction of what we all, would try out and either take turns or, do split screen all together. A group of 3 to 4 of us in the neighborhood, depending on the time and, people, being more or less available, moving, and that sort of thing. And like I said, I just didn't buy a lot of games for a really long time just because this neighbor was also really good about just letting us borrow whatever if they were going to be busy and we weren't going to be able to hang out a lot, or if we were just really getting into a game. So if I specifically wanted something, they probably already had it and I would just borrow it. Or we would just play it up their house, because like I said, that's where we were a lot of the time for years. That's also eventually when we would all get into retro gaming and get, proper introductions to systems like, the Genesis, Dreamcast, all of the pre-GameCube Nintendo consoles. I forget if it was a CDI or a 3DO, but I remember they even had one of them. The Genesis seemed to be the really big one, because this neighbor particularly had like at least 4 different Genesises. I remember at one point, I think we all had one of them borrowed with, a couple games too. It was just, nuts and a really, really good time. And by the time life just kind of happened and we weren't really able to spend a lot of time together anymore because, college and part-time jobs and all of that. I mean, like I said, we had an Xbox One, but that was sort of more of what my sibling played. I wound up getting a gaming laptop and was able to immediately reobtain a lot of the games I remember playing with this group. through Steam summer sales and that for, real cheap. It was kind of one of the first online platforms I had too, just because, as I mentioned in the Wii part, I didn't really take advantage of that a lot, other than maybe when we initially got it. And I had the original model 360, which didn't have built-in Wi-Fi. And I only remember like a few times borrowing that neighbor's Wi-Fi adapter so I can do updates or get some Rock Band or Guitar Hero songs off the Xbox Marketplace, and that's all I really did. And even then, I just never played online much. I guess I'm referring more to the digital marketplace and taking advantage of that. And that kind of just leads us to where we are today, just, collecting games, both off of Steam and off of, all the consoles I've got now. And like I said, sort of the perfect send-off, I feel like, for this series. Like I said, it was a little weird, maybe a little shorter than usual. I was kind of thinking about merging this part with the Wii part, because like I said, me playing, Brawl exclusively on the Wii sort of was connected to some of this other stuff. But then when I realized I can talk about Brawl for like a long time on top of the other stuff on Wii, I just felt like it would have been a little out of place and, too long, even though there was a little bit of a connection there. But yeah, hopefully you've enjoyed my story. Like I said, I really enjoy seeing other people's stories too. Like I said, this was kind of inspired by Scott the Waz's story, and I've seen other stories on just other forums and videos and stuff. And yeah, I guess I'm just happy to share and keep the conversation going.